All right, well, the time has come to finally strip the shop down yet again, get every last thing out of it so we can complete what should hopefully be the final project that requires us moving every last thing out of it. So if you haven't followed along this project since the beginning, we've had to do this quite a few times now. It's been a pretty convoluted process just because we started with the building here and tried to permit closing it in, and that got super complicated, and it ended up being simpler and really more cost effective to just tear it down and build a new building, as painful as that was to commit to. So we had to get everything out. We got a container, we shoved things in there, we shoved things pretty much every which way we could, set up the garage as a temporary workshop, got through that process of building the shop. We had to strip everything out of here yet again a couple months later to get the spray foam done, and then move some things around here and there to get the electrical done. But now that all of that is done, there's still one more looming project, and it's the reason why we haven't been able to set the shop up permanently. But after this, we should be able to permanently set this place up, which I cannot even express how excited that makes me. I've never had a permanent workshop. I've never been able to set something up long term. I've never really had my own workshop at all, my own workspace that wasn't shared until I moved here and bought this house. So this is a big moment. This is a final step. It's been tough moving things in and out, being temporarily set up, working, in two different places and bouncing back and forth, but it's all going to be worth it in the end. So the last project is the floors. This is a 20-year-old slab. These floors they're pretty rough. We got paint everywhere. We got stains. The surface is rough. So that is what I want to get done. And it's one of those projects, if we don't do it now, before we move back in, it won't ever get done. So that's why we held off on moving back in. It was tough, having this place essentially ready to go and just waiting, but we're here. The floors are getting done tomorrow. So that being said, we got to strip every last thing back out of here yet again. So I'm going to get started packing stuff up, and we're going to try to cram things wherever we can. Well, we did it. It took jammed packing the trailer. I mean, it is full to the brim. Car barely fits, tires all the way to the front. And the tires are already in there from the Miata. So it's full to the brim. We got the lift out here sitting on the ground with a tarp over it. Hopefully this is the last time. Once the floors are done, we should be able to toss this up, finally, have two lifts. I got the Safiro out here, 8.6 in here, and then the garage itself looks like something out of an episode of Hoarders. It's just funny seeing this place go from, you know, empty or a functioning workspace to just jam-packed, barely any walking space. So we have everything just thrown in here. We tried to keep it reasonably organized. We did leave access to the tire machine because we got to mount some tires. But otherwise, we're not really going to be able to work in here right now. And as soon as the floors are done, you know, all of this stuff's going to go into the shop because we can finally move back in. So, you know, one of those things. Got to sacrifice for a couple days for the end result. So on the shop front, it looks so much smaller in here. It's weird to see it completely empty again. It's been a while. So as you can see, we got it fully cleared out. Did some sweeping, just a little bit of prep sweeping. But this is it empty. Hopefully this is the last time we see it empty. If we see it empty after this, it's probably not a good thing. But yeah, fully emptied out, man. One more thing we got to do is we need to fill in these. I've decided to finally commit on cutting these pipes out. So these were preemptively set here for a future bathroom add-on. They're not plumbed in to either the well or the city water system. So they're stubbed out somewhere in the yard. I don't know where. And the more I've thought about it, I waited. I had to cut some of them out around the perimeter and fill those with concrete. But the more I thought about them, having them here, you know, it's never really bothered me not having a bathroom out here. The house actually has a bathroom off the back porch anyway. And on top of that, I'm normally going inside, you know, every couple hours to check on the dogs and grab a drink or whatever anyway. So it really doesn't bother me to not have a bathroom. I know a lot of people said to keep the bathroom, but I've decided we're committing, we're ditching the bathroom concept. And to do that, we need to cut these pipes flush, grind them down a little bit, and then fill them with something. Josue's on the way to the store to get some Quikrete crack sealer. So we'll just fill those in, and then the four guys will do the rest. But I want to at least get these leveled out-ish before they get here in the morning. So we'll whip the grinder out and get to cutting. All right, well, after a few days of having all my belongings crammed into the garage or strewn about the driveway, the floors and the shop are finally done. We're finally ready to move back in. Now, we did have to pivot on the original plan a little bit. So there was two options. We decided to go one way with it. However, our floors weren't gonna work to do that method. We had to switch to the other method, which it kind of panned out because I was torn on which way to go anyway. So it just kind of forced my hand on it. So here's what it looks like. You ready? There's gonna be a lot of echo because there's nothing in here. But here are the finished floors. So we decided to do a polyaspartic coating with flake. So I'm really happy with how this turned out because the flake package that we chose is white, black, and gray. Our walls are white and our roof is gray, so it just ties everything in together so well. Now, my original plan was to do polished concrete floors because I feel like they stay cleaner. They just don't get torn up as easily for the kind of stuff we do, spilling fuel, spilling oil, you know, driving cars in with hot tires, all of that kind of thing. But it was a little more expensive, and basically what it came down to was the concrete was just a little too old and soft for it to work well. They had started on the grinding process and they were confident it wasn't gonna turn out well. So midway through, we switched to this method, which again, I was torn between the two anyway, and seeing it, man, I am really happy with how this turned out. Now, this stuff is supposed to be better than like epoxy. That was my fear, as I've seen so many shops with epoxy and it just gets demolished and it almost looks worse than just a bare floor. But this stuff's supposed to hold up really well, so we'll see. But that being said, the floor is done. It is finally finished up. I mean, it is crazy to see this floor all one uniform color coating, you know, because you got to think this is a 25-year-old slab. 25 years of oil stains and chips and cracks and paint stains and every kind of stain you can imagine and wear and tear. now looks totally brand new again. So I'm really happy with the end product. It's it's almost sad to have to move everything back in here because this is the last time it's going to be this nice and clean. So we've still got a few things to do on the shop front. There's a bigger task at hand, and that is getting our second lift together and installed. So I have been kicking this lift around for 2 years now, almost. Pretty much ever since I moved in. It was in the corner of the garage over there for a while. Then when we tore the shop down, it was here and there, and then back corner of this shop. It has just been moved around. We've broken several dollies. We just got 2 new dollies. It's a heavy beast to have on a couple wood dollies. And it's finally time to get it out of the packaging and get it installed in the shop. Because once this is done, this will help us really determine the rest of the layout of the shop. So start putting it together and getting it installed. All right, so I debated whether I wanted to stagger this lift or not. At one point, my thought was move this lift, put it at an angle here, put the next one at an angle here so you could still pull something in here, but there's just not enough room to do that, comfortably turn a car around. The thing with staggering it is the further forward we push it, the more it's going to encroach on the loft we're gonna build to this beam or this beam. And you know, if you were pulling a motor out and needed to pull back with the engine hoist or something, it's gonna start to get in your way. The other thing is, if we stagger it, you know, you think about how close the lifts are together, but the car is far inside of the outside of the lift. So let's say you got the edge of the car here, the other lift, you might have the edge of the car way over here. You actually have a lot of room, whereas if we stagger it 3 feet, you might be working on the back of the car here and you're closer to this than you would have been the back of the car. The other thing is if we push it forward, we create a lot of dead space back here. We can't really store anything back here because we need to be able to get in and out. So for me, we're just going to put them even. That's what I've decided on. So I put a little mark on the floor right there. So right at my foot is where the very outside of the other lift will be. So that still gives us plenty of room. I mean, when I put this lift in, I based where I put it off of that, off of giving me enough room in the middle. So we're gonna stick to our guns. We're gonna center them side by side. It's been a while. It's been 2 years almost since I installed this one, so my memory is not very fresh. We're gonna be starting from scratch. So with the lift unboxed, or uncrated I should say, we went ahead and got the stabilizing cables and the hydraulic lines in. They go behind the trolley, so it's a lot easier to do when it's laying on its back as opposed to when it's standing upright. So with that done, we had Raldo come over, a little extra muscle to help us get these things stood up. It's one of those things you could probably do it with 2 people, but it's nice to have a third set of hands there just to make sure everything goes smoothly. So we had a spot marked for our first anchor hole. Now we're going to anchor this with just 1 bolt for a couple of reasons. One, with just 1 in it, we can still clock it, but it's fixed in the building. It's fixed in position. We don't have to worry about 2 of them trying to move around on us as we're trying to get everything lined up. 2, also just nice to have an anchor there so that that post, we don't have to worry about it falling over on us while we're working. So we get the other one tossed up, do some rough measurements, get it roughly in place, and then we need to put the crossbar on. So the crossbar will help us get it better lined up, get it close, get us in the ballpark because it has to drop down and recess in there. So we used the scissor lift. Luckily, Doug's scissor lift was still here and he said I could use it. I actually have a lot of experience from my construction job doing commercial shade structures lifting and setting heavy things with scissor lifts and boom lifts and all sorts of stuff. So this really took me back to about 8-10 years ago doing that job. It was kind of fun. It's fun to relive that, even though I wouldn't want to go back nowadays. But the scissor lift made a world of difference. I mean, we did this last time on ladders, and 2 ladders opposing. It was very tricky, but being able to just run it up with the scissor lift, get it lined up, drop it in place, that worked out really well. So now we're kind of tweaking the posts to get the bolts lined up, and that again gets us in the ballpark. If the top bridge goes on and the bolts go in and out, it's close, but we really want to nail this. We want this to be perfect. So there's 2 challenges. One, we need it to be perfect to itself. We need each post to be the right angle and the right distance and square. That's the most important thing. But we also want to make it even with the other lift. But the problem is, the other lift wasn't placed with this shop in mind. The other lift was placed with the other building in mind. So trying to measure, the building's not perfectly square. It's tricky, but we spent a lot of time. We made sure we had it right, at least where we were happy with it. And then we went ahead and started anchoring it down. Now, luckily, the concrete in this building is really thick. I did hit a piece of rebar on one hole on each post. So that was a little tricky to get past, but other than that, this went pretty smoothly. Drill it out, vacuum it out. That's important so you don't leave the dust in there. Hammer the anchors in and snug them up. So we obviously have to shim the lift a little bit. I had to shim the other one some to get them level. Once we're happy with where it is, it's level, all of that, we go ahead and torque the anchors down. Now this is really important that you torque them, not impact them. Obviously, the easiest thing to do is to impact them. It just doesn't really set the wedge anchor correctly. So we made sure to torque them all properly and even retorqued the old lift because it's been a bit since I've retorqued it. All right, well, our second lift is officially up, fully bolted in and torqued to spec. Really happy with that. All of the anchors tightened up all the way pretty much at the bottom. Barely pulled up. I think the one that pulled up the most was this one over here, which pulled up, maybe a ½ inch or so from where it was hammered in. So that's how you know the concrete's nice and deep. If you're cranking on them and they're just pulling up and pulling up and pulling up, that's not a good sign. So we've got them, they're torqued down nice and deep, good holding in the concrete. A1, that's exactly what we wanted. So this thing's all fully up, man. This thing's still in great shape for being kicked around and stored for 2 years. It held up surprisingly well. It looks brand new. Also pretty exciting, I finally got to use a tool I got a while ago. I haven't had to do much, precise tightening of things where I needed a torque wrench. But I got this Milwaukee electric torque wrench. So this thing is super cool because not only is it an electric torque wrench with all those cool features, tells you the max torque you got to and all those things, but it's essentially an electric ratchet too. So you can run things down, get them snug, torque them to spec. So you don't have to switch back and forth, run things in with a little impactor and electric ratchet, then go get the torque wrench all in one combo. So anyway, I was pretty hyped to use this thing. I love tools, and this is one of the coolest tools I own, I gotta say. So I've been in the market for a nicer torque wrench for a while. I didn't even know this existed, and as soon as I found out about it, I was like, that's it. So anyway, I'm jibber jabbering on. You guys know me. So we're gonna get back to work. I gotta go up top, tighten up the crossbar, and then Josue's been looking at the instructions. He'll tell me what we need to do next. Looks like he's working on getting the safety cable stuff ready. So that's what we have left. We gotta get the hoses full across and hooked up. We gotta get the pump on. We gotta get the cables attached. Just all the odds and ends, but the heavy lifting is done. All right, we got the lift fully finished up. We got the pups out here checking it out. What do you guys think of the shop? The floors, the lift? Yeah? What do you think, Ella? What do you think? Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice place. I appreciate that. Yeah, so normally it's hard to let them out in the shop because there's so much stuff on the floor for them to eat, and they're little scoundrels. They try to eat everything. Isn't that right, Pumpkin? Isn't that right? So, since the floors are clean and fresh and there's no stuff for them to eat, perfect time. Right, guys? Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. That's 2 lifts. Now we still need to get it wired. We'll obviously have him wire that up. That should be this week. Whoa. What are you eating? See, this is exactly what I was talking about. What are you eating, sir? This is why you guys can't be shop pups. What do you have to say about that, Blue Bear? Mom? All right, well, here it is. All cleaned up, stuff roughly put away. For now, we still got to do our full setup. We still got a bit to do. I'm going to caulk the floors, like I said. We got the insulation for the doors and setting it up and having Doug come do the final electrical. And that's it for the base. Now, we still need to add a loft at some point, but I really want to build that myself, so I'm going to wait till the off season when things slow down. We're not in the middle of building a race car / running a race car to worry about that. We don't need it right this second, but whew. We did it, Josue. We did it. What a sight, man, to see 2 lifts sitting here, 2 nice 10,000 pound bin pack lifts. Oh, just wait till we get the tire machine, the air compressor and everything set up in here. The hard lines ran. Oh, this is a dream come true, man. I've always wanted my own workspace at all, and this is far beyond what I ever could have imagined, just a few years ago. Oh, 2 lifts, man. I can't wait. It's going to expand our capabilities so much to be able to have, say a long-term project here and then short-term stuff here. If we were building the car and then we needed to prep the vet for the event or vice versa, the Miata, whatever, throw it on the lift, prep it, boom, not have to deal with playing car shuffle every time we got to work on something else. And just thinking back to working on here for over a year with this building fully open, it's crazy. It's crazy. I won't jibber jabber on too long, but this is a monumentous occasion for me. The fact that we're standing here, it is 71 degrees in here. It's nice and bright. The floors are clean. 2 lifts. Just gotta take it all in, Take it all in. So anyway, I'm gonna quit jibber jabbering. We've got some more setup work to do, finishing this thing out and then moving back in. So we'll be working on that, but for now, we're beat. We had to trim some vines to get the trailer parked because they're in the way, and I said I'd quit jibber jabbering. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Let me know what you guys think of the shop, and I hope to see you next time. All right, goodbye.